going on, everybody? Welcome. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us on a Tuesday. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. TTL Nation, the Occupy Democrats Network, of course, the Washington Press Network, the FMAM dial KSHP, and, of course, my personal YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. We just surpassed 100,000 subscribers, so we're very proud of that. And we appreciate you being here. We got a big show lined up for you. Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch will be joining us at the bottom of the hour, yes. And that's right, Donald Trump in Saudi Arabia today hanging out with a bunch of terrorists, and MAGA seemed to have no problem with that. By the way, he's saluting all of them. I just wanted to be very clear on that. Remember when Barack Obama gave a quick little bow? Yeah, Donald Trump is saluting all of them. People who are responsible for an American journalist murder, by the way. Yes, that's right. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and obviously talk about this $400 million gift that has been given to Donald Trump. But, you know, nothing to see here, according to MAGA, right? No bribery, no scandals, no nothing. We're going to get to all that for you. And, you know, I've been wanting to interview this guy for a very, very long time. I really enjoy his political commentary. He's a comedian. He's an actor, runs a great podcast, Sirius XM, and he's been around for a long time. And it's certainly a pleasure to have John Fugelsang joining us right now on the show. John, thank you so much for being here, my friend. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Sure.
We have to talk about John in a short period of time. I want to ask you this to start, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, sure.
What was your first reaction when you heard Donald Trump would be receiving this $400 million jet? What went through your mind when you heard about this?
A complete lack of surprise and a marveling at the sheer amoral consistency of the gesture. How's that?
Yeah.
I mean, no,
right.
No surprise whatsoever. No surprise whatsoever. This is how it is. He just gave the Qataris a $5 billion golf course. So this is bribery. This man could have been impeached 5 minutes into his first inaugural address for violating the Constitution's Emoluments Clause. So, you know, look, we can't allow these people to claim they care about the Constitution. They don't. They don't care about the law any more than they care about Jesus or what's in the New Testament. They care about power. Hypocrisy is strength. And they get off on making moral people or guys like me get upset. So, you know, I'm sort of in this place, Brian, where I pick 3 pieces of Trump bullshit I'm going to allow to upset me every day. And stuff like this, garden variety, corrupt douchebag material, I just, it's there for jokes. That's it. I can't let myself get upset over bribery like this because it's going to get worse.
John, I agree with you. And I struggle mentally with trying to figure this stuff out too and try not let it get to me too much. But here's the question I would ask you. And the question I asked MAGA people, clearly you're not one of those people, neither am I, but do you expect that they don't want anything in return? Like, you think they just handed over something that's worth $400 million and they don't expect anything from us? I mean,
yeah,
these Republicans, they curl themselves into a pretzel with their excuses.
Yes. I mean, that's it. You know, it's a gift from Qatar. And I mean, this is the guy who looks at Air Force One and says, yeah, not enough gold toilets. But what we have here is like $5.5 billion for a Trump golf resort. And they say, okay, well, here's a little token of our appreciation. That's buy one, get one free corruption. That is foreign bribes with extra legroom. And he's saying, oh, the plane's a gift to the American people. Well, when do we get to fly it? You know, like Air Force One is a military aircraft. It's not supposed to be a royal palace because we don't have a king. Now, I realize Trump doesn't want to be a king. He wants to be something more along the lines of a pharaoh. But, you know, they're going to call this a savvy business move. And it is corruption in its purest, rawest, uncut form. But again, hypocrisy is a sacrament for some people. And,
it is.
And if Barack Obama had to, I mean, Jimmy Carter had to give up his family's peanut farm and put it in a blind trust. Hillary Clinton had to give back a $400 necklace given her by Bangladesh. The hypocrisy means they're winning. That's how it's viewed.
I'm wondering, because, you know, you do such a great job on these like CNN panels that I watch, and you're sitting
Lord.
across, you're sitting, right. I was like, next question. You're sitting across from a guy like Scott Jennings, who I just think is a joke.
I've never been on with Scott Jennings, by the way. Maybe next week I'll get lucky, but I've never been on camera with him. But I have been on with, I've been on with Judge Jeanine. I've been on with worse people than him. But yeah, go on, please.
Judge Jeanine. Oh, don't even get me started there. Now working for the government, by the way. But
for
you
a
see
while,
these guys,
for a while.
For a little bit, right? You see these guys.
Look, they got her off TV. You're going to be mad about that? Come on, people, prioritize your outrage.
Where's all the talent on Fox News? You lose Pete Hegseth, you lose Judge Jeanine. Who do they have left over there?
I was saying, where's the talent on Fox News long before this happened? But go on to get your point.
Fair. But like you see these people on CNN like a Scott Jennings.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, you see them every day curl themselves into a pretzel trying to make excuses for
That's
Donald
their
Trump.
job. He gets paid for it. He gets paid for it. And there's a certain kind of weak man, certain kind of weak white man or white woman as well, who will believe whatever they have to believe when a paycheck and valuable camera time is on the contract. So yeah, Scott Jennings, he's going to go out there, not care about his mortal soul. And why should he? Look at everyone who lied in the Bush-Cheney administration. Look at all the media figures, all the Congress people who lied us into that goddamn evil war with Iraq based on lies. There were no WMDs. 4,486 troops come home in a body bag, 1 million dead Iraqis. We have military suicides for decades afterwards. And Bush and Cheney took all the blame. They're very willing accomplices are just pretending that they weren't part of that now. So it's going to happen here again. All of these evil motherfuckers that are propping up this Nazi agenda with comb over Caligula, they're going to deny it in 5 years. You try to find one of these MAGAs who will admit to how much they hated you for opposing the Iraq war. Try to find one of them who's angry about the lies that they pushed.
Right.
They threw Bush over. They stopped caring about Bush and Cheney. Now they hate Bush and Cheney because they've been told to. They hated us when we warned them about Bush Cheney. They hated us more when we were proven right. They hated us more when we warned them about Trump. These people care about power, nothing else, or the illusion of earthly power. So when they have a more charismatic and effective scumbag authoritarian than Trump who comes along, I promise you, Brian, in 10 years, a lot of these MAGA folks are going to deny they ever voted for him. You'll see.
I tend to agree with you. By the way, you mentioned George W. Bush, not to go back to Scott Jennings, but that's what he's famous for, right? Being an advisor to George W. Bush. Thanks a lot for helping us get into an ill-advised war and
crashing the global economy and the housing market. I mean, we still, this is what we do. We don't take this stuff seriously. We didn't take the Confederacy seriously. And you got these jackasses waving the American swastika all over the place. We didn't take segregation seriously. We didn't take Iran. I'm still mad about Iran-Contra. Nobody went to jail for that. That was the biggest scandal of my lifetime before Iraq.
John,
so it's like these guys are going to do it, and we have to try to hold it together and remind people that kindness and honesty matter.
John, I'm 45 years old and I don't recognize this country anymore, and for a couple different reasons, but a big reason is human beings are not getting due process anymore. I want to talk to you a little bit about this. So we have the South Africans that come out here. By the way, they're all white. And yet, if you're a brown person living in this country, you don't get due process. In some cases, you're sent to an El Salvador prison, one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world. No due process at all. Oh, well, we saw tattoos on them, so we think they're in gangs. I'm sure some of them are bad people, but certainly not
illegal.
All.
It's not illegal to be in a gang.
Right.
Not illegal to be in a gang.
That's
not
also
illegal
true.
not illegal to have an MS-13 tattoo on your forehead in this country.
Right. Right.
By the way, not illegal to be anti-Semitic. Not illegal to say horrible things about Jews. It's awful, but they're trying to deport people who said nothing bad about Jewish people and have no history of anti-Semitism. They don't like free speech. And you're right. These are brown people. They despise our system of laws as much as they despise the actual teachings of Jesus. They love to pretend they're law and order Christians, but they despise the law and order, and they really despise what the Nazarenes said. Christianity and Judaism, the two books of the Bible, command you to welcome the stranger. The only commandment in the entire book, Old New Testament, about immigration or borders is the commandment. Jesus says in Matthew 25, individuals and nations will be judged on how they did or did not welcome the stranger. These guys hate Jesus, and they hate due process. They hate our Constitution that says that if you're standing on this ground, you're allowed to claim asylum. They can't stand it. That's why Joe Biden and these Republican clowns last year tried to have an immigration bill that would hire more judges to process the asylum claims quicker. Comb over Caligula put the kibosh on that and killed it. And now we got to stop calling them deportations, because a deportation is something that's legal and approved by a judge. These are kidnappings and human trafficking. That's what they're doing. So we will be paying money, we the taxpayers, in class action lawsuits to the people who have been violated for decades after these clowns leave Washington, D.C. We'll be paying for this for years.
Good point. That won't come out of Donald Trump's pocket or Tom Homan's pocket either.
No, and by the way, the money for terrorist Ashley Banfield, who is dead because of Donald Trump's lies, should come from Donald Trump's pocket, not from the government. Ashley Banfield, forgive me. Ashley Babbitt is dead because of Trump's lies. We're paying for that.
I was going to say Ashley Banfield's still alive.
Ashley Banfield is fantastic, and I got nothing but love for her. Nothing
She's
but love. Great
So
broadcaster, great lady.
I agree. So you mentioned Joe Biden. I want to bring up this ridiculous story because MAGA Republicans have been talking about this today. They even spoke about it on CNN. There's a new book that came out apparently, and allegedly Joe Biden, when he met George Clooney, he didn't recognize him. And listen, John, the first thing that came to my mind was, who the F cares? And then the second thing that came to my mind is, this is a distraction from the important issues like healthcare and people getting due process.
Oh, no. You're saying Jake Tapper selling a fucking book is a distraction? You don't think that's an important issue facing all of us? Jake Tapper's got a book sale, and he's never going to stop on behalf of CNN chasing the MAGA demographic that hates him.
That's true.
Who the fuck is going to buy Jake Tapper's book? Democrats who hate Democrats. That's who's going to buy his book.
No, you're right about that. And I'm very disappointed in Jake Tapper because I've always had respect for him. But I think you're right. I think this is about money. And you remember the book that came out a few weeks back, a low-level Joe Biden person in his administration apparently wrote out a book and said that, he was deteriorating and we knew it. And then said that it was taken out of context.
Yeah, I saw that.
What he meant. Another guy trying to sell a book, and then they characterize it, at least MAGA Republicans characterize it as, well, look at all the people in Joe Biden's administration that are saying he was unwell, unhealthy. My point, John, has always been the guy was getting old. He should have stepped down much sooner and given Kamala Harris more time. But the fact that the guy couldn't walk or couldn't talk is not factually accurate. By the way, Donald Trump, correct me if I'm wrong, John. Donald Trump is the same guy who said you need ID to buy bread. He's the guy who said Jeb Bush got us into the war in Iraq. He's the guy who said that he defeated Barack Obama. Why don't they have the same criticism for Donald Trump, John?
Because they're hypocrites, and hypocrisy is strength. They're hypocrites. They're racists. They're idiots. They're fake Christians. They are in a cult of blind, amoral, unmanly obedience. It's not loyalty Donald Trump demands. Loyalty goes two ways. It's obedience. These are unmanly supplicants who are groveling at a reality TV show landlord who calls women pieces of ass and stole from American soldiers with a fraudulent online university.
Right.
They're in a cult, and we can't hate them because they're our cousins. They're our family members. They're our coworkers. They're that douchebag from high school we're still friends with on Facebook for some inexplicable reason. We know these people. We can't hate them, but we have to beat them. We can't give in to their bullshit. We have to try to love them as best we can while calling out the lies. As far as Joe Biden, the man was 82 years old with a stutter. And he's old. I get it. I will take Joe Biden completely senile in an open hospital gown, playing air guitar, singing Freebird while an alien bursts out of his chest before anyone in Donald Trump's cabinet. Joe Biden can be drooling on the clicker all day long and asking for applesauce. And Joe Biden in a coma is a better president and is more presidential than Donald Trump on his best day. Look, should they have figured something out? Absolutely. It's between them, and we'll be discussing this, and God knows Democrats will be fucking finger pointing and blame gaming each other for decades based on this. But this is where we are. It sucks. If Biden had a better debate in late June, hard to believe that's almost 11 months ago, that nightmare. If he'd had a better debate, it might not have happened. Maybe he could have beaten Trump. I don't think so, but maybe he could have done it. But we got to remember something. Kamala Harris was in this race for 100 days against Man Baby, who's been in this race for 10 years. And she got the third highest vote count of any politician to ever run for any office in the history of this country after only 100 days. And all of these media profiles about how unpopular Democrats are. Guys, look at the issues. Poll after poll shows the majority of Americans support taxing the rich more. The majority support women's reproductive freedoms. The majority support paid family leave, like all of our capitalist allies have. They support Medicare, covering vision, hearing, and dental. They support not putting people in prison for weed. We could do this all day, Brian. The majority of the American people support these policies.
And that, by the way, he has the lowest approval ratings, as you know, the first 100 days in 70 years. And I would also say when MAGA Republicans call it a mandate, it was one of the closest elections in American history.
No mandate.
Yeah, of course it's not. 1.4%. He won the popular vote.
Even bigger than that. The majority of people who showed up to vote voted against him in 2016,
Right.
2020, and in 2024. They'll freak out on the last one, but it's true. The majority of people who showed up to cast a ballot voted against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
3 elections in a row. That
Correct.
is no mandate.
So, John, I don't know if you've ever been asked this question before. If you could do it in a PG-13 way, because we're on the radio.
I'm cursing so much. Am I getting you in trouble?
No, we're okay,
Sirius
John.
XM has ruined me as a broadcaster. They've ruined me, Brian.
Unless Donald Trump comes after us, which I guess is possible.
I blame Howard Stern for all of this. He made me do this. I'm sorry.
The reason why I got into radio was because of Howard Stern. I want to be clear on that. I love Howard. If you were able to be in a room alone with Donald Trump, no cameras, no audio, I'm just curious, John, because you're a very outspoken, opinionated guy. What would you say to Donald Trump right now if you had the opportunity?
With no camera, if there were cameras, I know what I would say. I would ask him to rattle off his children's birthdays. That's what I would ask for. But with no cameras, I would tell him how deeply he is screwing this up and that he has a chance to go down in history as a great leader. He's probably the only American politician alive who could bring single-payer health care to all Americans. No one in the Democratic Party can do it. No Republican could do it. Trump campaigned on it in 2015 in the GOP primary debates. Now he calls it socialism. But 10 years ago, he was a Republican running on single-payer health care. And I would tell him, it's not too late for you to undo some of this damage because you're going to be gone and have all the money, and your grandkids are going to be filing to legally change their last name. Like, your name's going to be taken down off more buildings. And when his fans die off, there's not going to be anybody around to believe his horse crap. Historians will tell the brutally blunt, fact-based truth about him. So it's not too late for you to put the racism on the back burner. You don't need to be racist anymore. You've satisfied the racists. You can't run again. What can you do to actually help non-millionaires? And I don't know if he would care, but I would earnestly try to appeal to him in that way and say, you're just hurting yourself and your legacy and your brand. What do you want to do to make yourself a good man when all this is done? He might be too stupid and drug-addled to be able to approach it from that way, but I've thought about it a lot. In private, I know exactly what I'd say to him, and it wouldn't be hostile.
Yeah. Well, John, there's a lot of differences between you and somebody like Bill Maher, but if he was nice to you for 2 hours, you wouldn't say, oh, we don't have a lunatic in the White House. He just pretends to be. What do you make of a guy? You're a comedian, a fellow comedian. What do you make of Bill Maher and the fact that because Donald Trump was nice to him for 2 or 2.5 hours, that somehow that makes him a normal, decent man who just plays a crazy lunatic?
Yeah. Well, look, full disclosure, I've known Bill Maher for 30 years. He's been very good to me. I've opened for him. I've been to his house. You know, he's I was really disappointed by what happened. I don't give him any crap for meeting with Donald Trump, and I think a lot of people are full of it. I would go have dinner with Donald Trump in the White House if he asked me. Yep. Of course I would. I would book Steve Bannon on my show if he wasn't a chicken.
Sure.
I would do it in a second. Sure. But it's the normalizing it, you know, and I will say to everybody who's been crapping on Bill, he's been ferocious against Trump on his show. He has been. But, you know, Bill is not a guy who's guided by passion and ideology. He never has been. He's never going to be George Carlin. He is not outraged by suffering. It doesn't get to him. It's just not who he's ever been. He's never been that kind of compassionate guy. He's always been liberal, libertarian-ish. He's generally, I've always found him to be a bit of a contrarian. When it's a Democratic president, he's more libertarian. When it's a Republican, he's more liberal. But I look at what he did sucked, and I think he normalized Trump. And you don't have to do that. You can, you can completely be in good taste and good manners and tell the truth about this man. Right. So I feel bad, but I do think that he's still got a very good show. It's probably the best political comedy talk show we have. I love his producers. I mean, Scott Carter's one of the best in the business, and I'll still watch his show. But yeah, it was really disappointing. And Donald Trump played him, and Donald Trump used him. And I know what Trump got out of it. I don't know what Bill got out of it, unless, you know, this is something that Paramount wanted him to do to help keep his show on the air, which is possible.
Interesting. That's what I thought as well. John, last question for you. I know you got to run. I know that there's a lot of time between now and 2028. But right now, who do you think are the rising stars within the Democrat Party? I mean, I love Josh Shapiro. I think Jasmine Crockett's a rising star. I like AOC. There's other people in the party, but who would you pick right now to run as president of the United States? Who name a few people that you think should be up there?
Yeah, these are different questions, right? Rising star and who should be the next president.
Right.
I don't care. I got to be honest, Brian. I'm more focused on the midterms. I think we're
Gotcha.
all still running around with our hair on fire. There's so much great talent in the Democratic Party.
Mhm.
Wes Moore is dynamite, and a lot of it's going to come out. Whoever the leaders are going to be, we will find out who they are by the midterms. But between now and then, I don't care. I'm on the side of the Democrats, and I'm not a Democrat. I've never belonged to a political party in my life. And I was at their convention last summer. It was one of the most inspiring things I've ever been to. But I think we don't need to worry about that yet. We need to worry about having this opposition, having this research, this resistance on the same page, getting as many allies as we can, regrouping in terms of our values, and figuring out what this party has to do to remind people they traded in the most pro-union president and a vice president who cast the tie-breaking vote to save the Teamsters pensions to re-elect an anti-union scab with a gold toilet who hates collective bargaining. If you're not a millionaire and you're voting for Donald Trump, you're a sucker, even if it's for racist reasons. And I know how powerful that tribalism is, and it's impossible to measure how racist this is, how racist it's been. But I don't mean to dodge the question. I just I get
No, I
asked this every
understand.
night. I get asked every night, and honestly, I don't care. It's bigger than one person. I don't think that I don't think you're going to see the Democrats necessarily nominate anyone but a white guy, to be honest with you. But we'll see what they do. Look, the party will decide. The primary voters will decide who it's going to be. But we have a lot of ground to cover between now and then. And I think by the midterms, the leaders will have revealed themselves. And we're going to keep seeing a lot of them. What Cory Booker did with that filibuster thing, that was great.
It
We're going to
was.
see more episodes like that. And yeah, sure, they're all auditions. I don't care. I want to see who's going to lead. We all
Right.
want to see who's going to lead and who's going to resist, as opposed to who's going to grovel.
Yeah, I can understand why you would answer it that way because I talk about the midterms all the time, and that's certainly step number one. So
Who do
I
you
agree.
like? Who do you like?
Well, let me start with who I don't like. I want Chuck Schumer out. I've had
Yeah,
enough
yeah,
of
yeah.
him.
He's going to
I
go.
want
He's going to
I,
go.
I want Nancy Pelosi to step aside. Let's get some younger
She has
people.
stepped aside. She did step aside.
Right, right. But she's still out there doing interviews and stuff, and that's fine. She has the right to do that.
No,
I
she's out
want
there fundraising. That's why she's never going to leave. And Schumer
right.
will step aside from the leadership role before he leaves
Yeah.
the Senate, because they are. Look, this is the Democratic Party. They are. It's sadly all about the fundraising.
I understand. Who do I like, John? Well, you mentioned Wes Moore, very intelligent guy, very
Right.
well spoken, great leader. I do like Josh Shapiro a lot. I think he's very good. But I do think, and you might disagree with me on this, I don't think, not that I don't want a woman to be president, but let's be honest about it. They're 0-2 against Donald Trump. I'm not blaming Hillary for that. I'm not blaming Kamala for that. Of course, I voted for Kamala, but
And Hillary beat him. Don't forget, Hillary beat him. The American people chose a woman to be their leader in 2016. The majority of voters chose a woman in
the popular
2016.
vote. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. But I think Democrats.
The dead slave voters picked Trump that year. But sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
you're true. But let me just be clear. Josh Shapiro, I think Jasmine Crockett or an AOC as VP pick, I think would be fantastic. But they have to be very smart about this because we can't let another MAGA Republican get in there. It'll maybe a JD Vance. Ron DeSantis's political career appears to be probably over because of this scandal.
Say it
You
again.
never know.
Say it again. Yeah.
You never know. It appears as though his
very
political
done.
career is over.
He's
Yeah, I hope.
done like disco, and he deserves it.
I'm going to miss his white, sexy boots. Hey, John, before I let you go, and thank you. John, I love what you do. I really do. You have a great show, and I love you on these panels. You're just so good at what you do. I appreciate you. Before I let you go, can you share with us how people can follow you? Not that you need that because you have about 50 times more followers than me.
Oh,
but,
Lord.
But how can people listen to your podcast? And
I want to apologize. Please let me apologize to your listeners for my cussing. I didn't realize that we were on terrestrial radio, so
no problem.
I'm deeply sorry. SiriusXM has given me so many bad habits, but you guys can hear me on SiriusXM every night on the Progress channel. We also do and you're invited to call in and swear yourselves there. We also have a free podcast every day that's the highlights of our show. I have my first book coming out this summer called Separation of Church and State. A sane person's guide to taking back the Bible from fundamentalist, fascists, and flock fleecing frauds. And it's all about how atheists and believers alike can use the Bible to put these people in their place because they don't follow it.
Love
So,
to get you back on, John, when that book
anytime.
comes out. And I really appreciate your time, my friend. Keep up the great work. I know you got to run. You got to do another interview. But thank you so much, John. It's good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I'll be squeaky clean next time. Thanks for being so understanding and setting me straight.
No problem,
Appreciate
John.
it.
I appreciate
I'm
you, my friend.
Catholic. I'm going to feel guilt for this for days, so you've given me a gift. Thank you.
Don't feel guilty. Have a good one, John. Oh, he's
Take
so
care.
funny. I love him. Take care, John. John Fugelsang joining us, everybody. Comedian, actor extraordinaire. His podcast on Sirius XM is so great. I'm a big fan of his work and happy that he joined us, and love to have him back on down the road. All right, from one great guest to another one, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, the man himself, Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch, will be joining us. Thanks to John Fugelsang for joining us. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part, every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Complete Family Care in Henderson is open. No waiting, just walk in, see the doctor right away, have your blood and x-rays done on site, and so call them today at 702-747-7770. Fall allergy season is here. Get a 3-month allergy shot for $120. 3 months of allergy relief for just $120. Complete Family Care accepts all major insurances and Medicare. So visit us today at cfchenderson.com. That's cfchenderson.com. Or call them at 702-747-7770. That's 747-7770.
Discover the art of flawless beauty at Beauty by Thread in Las Vegas. Specializing in eyebrow threading, the skilled professionals will give you the perfect arch every time. Whether it's your brows, upper lip, neck, or full face, Beauty by Thread has you covered. Located in the heart of Las Vegas at 7415 South Durango, Unit 101. Hours are Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. by appointment only. So book your appointment today with Helen by calling or texting her at 714-470-1369. And don't forget to mention KSHP.
Get ready, football fans. The Los Angeles Rams are back, and they're hungrier than ever in the City of Angels, where stars shine bright. A new chapter unfolds on the gridiron. Buckle up, because the Rams are about to electrify the NFL. All Los Angeles Rams games can be heard right here on KSHP, AM 1400 and 107.1 FM. Los Angeles Rams football, sponsored by Steiner's Pub, a true Nevada-style pub.
As crime and law enforcement, we put in the work to get to the bottom of some of history's most intriguing tales, exploring the age-old dichotomy of the good guys versus the bad guys. Located in the heart of downtown Las Vegas, the Mob Museum is an immersive experience, exploring the ongoing power struggles between organized crime and law enforcement from the mob's origination to today. Located at 300 Stewart and 4th Street, themobmuseum.org. Let's have a sit down.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We got some special guests lined up for you for the remainder of the week. So Piers Morgan's Uncensored show I did yesterday with a guy by the name of Jack Posobiec, who is in my opinion, white supremacist sympathizer. He's maybe a little bit more of an intelligent version, maybe, of Charlie Kirk, and that might be giving him a little bit too much credit. And I was also on with a guy by the name of Brandon Tatum, who I've labeled as the male version of Candace Owens with his rhetoric and his bigotry and his hatred. So I'm going to be playing some clips from that show tomorrow on air. I did put a few cuts of the show on my personal YouTube page, which you can check out. But it is very telling and funny when Piers Morgan is on your side, because he retweeted two of my quotes from the show yesterday. He rarely does that unless he agrees with you. And I will say this, there was a moment yesterday where you have Jack Posobiec, who's talking about censorship, right? These MAGA Republicans who are so upset at, people being censored. The topic that we were talking about was Kanye West being censored by Spotify. Now, obviously, Jack was defending Kanye West in this aspect. So I went after Jack and I said, you're the last person who should be talking about censorship when you're the guy who blocked me on social media for simply disagreeing with you. So Pierce retweeted that quote, made Jack look like a complete imbecile that he is. And then what did Jack do? He unblocked me on social media. Like I give two flying you-know-whats. I don't care, but I prove that he is a hypocrite because he censors people. And then another very poignant moment in the show yesterday, which I thought was interesting from my point of view, was the moment of the show where I was told that I have Trump derangement syndrome. And the only reason why they said that is because I was disagreeing with them on a topic. And I immediately responded, as I only know how to when somebody says I have Trump derangement syndrome. I said on Pierce's show that they have Trump fellatio syndrome, known as TFS. So Pierce retweeted it because I would assume he thought it was funny. And he did say Brian Shapiro lands a low blow. I don't even think, maybe the wording of it is kind of funny. I suppose you could say when you have Trump fellatio syndrome, it literally and figuratively is a low blow. So those were a couple of the moments I had yesterday. And by the way, these MAGA morons, they don't know how to respond to me. When I make a case and I use facts to back up my opinions, they don't know how to respond, so they go with you have Trump derangement syndrome or you're a liberal. That was another moment of the show where Jack Posobiec called me a liberal. And I explained to him my voting record, explained to him that I was a registered independent and that I was anti-Donald Trump. And he says to me, well, then who'd you vote for? I think it's pretty evident when somebody says they didn't vote for Barack Obama, they didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, but they're anti-Donald Trump. It's pretty evident who I voted for. I voted for Joe Biden and I voted for Kamala Harris. But the reason why I didn't vote for Obama and the reason why I didn't vote for Hillary, and by the way, that was a mistake not voting for Hillary. When John McCain took that microphone from that crazy old lady and said, no, ma'am, Barack Obama's a decent man. We just disagree on policy. I said, you know what? I'd be okay with John McCain being the president of the United States as well. So I didn't vote that election cycle, at least not for president, because I would have been okay with either of them winning. I wasn't a fan of Sarah Palin, never was, never will be, but I do respect John McCain a lot. I respect his service, and I always believed that John McCain was a good, decent man. And same goes for Mitt Romney. And I know there's probably a lot of people out there that are going to disagree with me. Listen, I don't like the way Mitt Romney votes. I disagree with him on a lot of policy issues, but I do, and I have always believed that Mitt Romney is not a horrible human being. Looking back on it, maybe I should have voted for Barack Obama, but I didn't vote for Mitt Romney either. I didn't vote in that election because I said to myself, I'm never going to do this again. because I made a very big mistake in 2016, and I openly admit it on this show all the time. Obviously, I should have voted for Hillary Clinton, and I didn't do it. And I regret it. And I said I would never make that same mistake again. I wasn't a huge Hillary supporter, but I would vote for a ham sandwich over Donald Trump. I didn't understand, and I didn't know at the time the monster that Donald Trump would turn out to be. And I made a mistake. Did not make that mistake in 2020. Certainly didn't make that mistake in November. But again, that's the go-to for these MAGA Republicans. That's what they do. You're a liberal. You're a lefty. You have Trump derangement syndrome, because they didn't have an argument to what I was trying to say. Some of them were literally defending the N-word and talking about freedom of speech. Some of them were literally defending Kanye West. And then the argument that was brought up was the Carmelo Anthony case. Now, listen, I said on the Piers Morgan show yesterday that anybody who sends money to that Shiloh piece of human garbage who called a black 5-year-old the N-word, anybody who donates money to her is despicable. And instead of Jack Posobiec saying, you're right, Brian, that, what she did was terrible, he uses whataboutism trying to attack a black person. And he brought up Carmelo Anthony. He said, you have the same problem with people who send money to Carmelo Anthony. And I answered his question. I said, no, not at the present time. And I said, if Carmelo Anthony is found guilty of murder and people still support him, then I will have a problem with that. But he could be innocent. It could have been self-defense. Let the courts decide. Two completely different scenarios. We know one woman to be bigoted, using the N-word towards a 5-year-old, and then he uses a separate case that has nothing to do with it. I know he was charged with murder, but he hasn't been convicted. If he's convicted of murder, that'll change my thoughts. I want to wait and see what the courts find. It's always whataboutism with these MAGA Republicans. And ladies and gentlemen, while all this stuff is going on, Donald Trump is in Saudi Arabia today. And Trump has been professing his love for the Crown Prince. Let's keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that the Crown Prince literally had a U.S. resident murdered, if you remember, and chopped up with a bone saw. And Donald Trump is praising him. Have a listen to this.
Number one, I like visiting with you, and we've known each other very well, and I really believe we like each other a lot. And number two, for the United States, we've brought tremendous investment in and tremendous jobs, and we'll continue to service your great country very well.
Absolutely and utterly despicable, insane, ridiculous. And by the way, Donald Trump was the same guy years back calling these people a bunch of terrorists and murderers, and now he's cozying up to them. It is disgusting. He's cozying up to them the same way he cozies up to Vladimir Putin. Now, there are a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are some Republicans that are against this $400 million plane. They think it's a really bad idea. At a minimum, they think the logistics of it are very, very bad. And I can't believe I've been agreeing with Rand Paul lately. He's been against these tariffs, and now he certainly sounds like he's against this $400 million gift. This is him on Fox talking about how the logistics of it look bad and it could put us in jeopardy. Have a listen to this.
On the jet, I do think the jet probably sends the wrong signal to people, and I don't like the look or appearance of it, so I would hope that he would reject it. The Constitution specifically says you can't take gifts from foreign leaders. It doesn't say you can't take gifts unless they're going to be for, official use. We also do a lot of business with Qatar, and so we sell them a lot of arms. Essentially, the United States is the biggest arms merchant in the world. We sell arms everywhere, and they're lucrative deals for the arms manufacturers. But I have actually tried to hold up arms sales before to both Saudi Arabia and to Qatar because of their human rights records. So I don't know that if we can have an honest appraisal of their human rights record and decisions on arms sales if we're receiving $400 million gifts from a country. So I'm not for it.
Now, listen, when he uses the term probably, it's pretty pathetic, but at least he's admitting, even on a right-wing network, that this is really bad, it looks bad, and it could be a violation of the Constitution. At least Rand Paul is at least admitting to go that far. I can't believe I'm agreeing with him, and for once in my life, I can't believe I'm agreeing with Cancun Cruz. Now, the last time I agreed with Ted Cruz was when he was running for president, first go-around in 2015, and he called Donald Trump a liar. He called Donald Trump out for who he is. Now, obviously, when Ted Cruz needed to kiss ass, he's been doing that very well for the last, 8-9 years. But again, Ted Cruz on a right-wing network saying that the plane poses significant espionage and surveillance problems at a minimum. Have a listen to what Ted Cruz had to say.
Questions about the emoluments clause and whether it's going to go to his library, whether he's going to get to fly on it afterwards. What are your thoughts about all this?
Well, listen, I'm not a fan of Qatar. I think they have a really disturbing pattern of funding theocratic lunatics who want to murder us, funding Hamas and Hezbollah. And that's a real problem. I also think that the plane poses significant espionage and surveillance problems. So we'll see how this issue plays out. But I certainly have concerns.
Well, they should have concerns because I think any reasonable human being would say when you give somebody a gift, whether it's $400 or $400 million in this situation, you probably want something in return. And that's exactly what's going on here. I think it's obvious. Mike Lawler's another one. Listen, another Republican. He made some appearances yesterday on some networks, and he also agrees that we shouldn't be accepting $400 million gifts from a bunch of terrorists or those who harbor terrorists. Have a listen to what he had to say.
Look, let's face it, Hamas is based in Qatar. Okay? How do they explain that away? Hamas is based in Qatar. And what about this plane? What are your thoughts on this jumbo jet that the Qataris want to give President Trump?
Well, I'm still seeking to get more clarity and information on it. I think, obviously, from the president's standpoint, he wants to be able to have a plane that meets the needs of him and his administration. But obviously, we don't want to be straight up accepting any type of gift from any foreign government. Certainly not, one that can be viewed in a way that obviously has been presented here. So a lot more information that I think needs to come out on it.
Congressman, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Yeah, there you go. Any type of criticism, any sort of criticism towards Donald Trump, they will cut away and start playing the music. That's for sure. And then there's the people that coddle Donald Trump, the people that curl themselves into a pretzel for Donald Trump. Listen, we can go on and on about all the people in Donald Trump's administration. Let's start off with Sean Duffy, who is literally defending this $400 million gift. Have a listen to this.
Sort of in your lane, but related. We just had Ted Cruz on the broadcast, and we were asking him what he thought of the Qataris offering a plane to the president. He had some deep concerns about the national security implications and potentially the emoluments clause and other things of that sort. Do you have those same concerns?
Listen, I know the president wants a plane. I will leave that to the Congress and to the DOD in regard to the safety issues that come into play. Andrew, I've been so focused on the issues at Newark and around the airspace. That's a question I'm not going to walk into because, again, there's a lot of other elements that are at play right now. But I appreciate the question, and I hope the president does get a plane soon.
I appreciate the question, but I'm not going to comment on a $400 million gift and the national security issues that it could present. I'll let them deal with that, but I appreciate the question. Sean, I almost used another word to describe Sean, which I'm glad I didn't use on the air, but Sean Duffy, Sean Wussy, whatever word you want to use. Again, somebody else that is curling themselves into a MAGA pretzel, making excuses for a $400 million gift given by a bunch of people who harbor terrorists, including Hamas. And then there's Caroline the Liar Levette, the fake Christian bimbo who lies to the American people every single day and 24/7 wears the Donald Trump knee pads. Listen to the pathetic answer when asked on Fox News the thoughts on how this could put us in jeopardy and national security issues. Listen to the way Caroline the lying bitch Levette, listen to what she had to say.
Clarify that Qatar is giving us a new Air Force One as a personal gift to President Trump? Are they gifting it to the country? What could you tell us about this luxury liner that looks like a hotel in the air?
Well, the Qatari government has graciously offered to donate a plane to the Department of Defense. The legal details of that are still being worked out. But of course, any donation to this government is always done in full compliance with the law. And we commit ourselves to the utmost transparency, and we will continue to do that.
Do you worry that if they give us something like this, they want something in return?
Absolutely not, because they know President Trump and they know he only works with the interests of the American public in mind.
Are you worried that a foreign government who harbors terrorists, who just decide one day I'm going to do something nice for America and hand over a $400 million jet, are you worried that maybe they might want something in return? Oh, absolutely not. It's just a gift. There's nothing to see here. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't get more stupid than Caroline Leavitt. It's just an absolute embarrassment. And Sean Duffy's of the world. Listen, when you have people like Laura Loomer and Ben Shapiro saying that this is a bad idea, it just might be a really bad idea. But let's listen to what Caroline the Liar Leavitt has to say. Oh, my goodness. Well, to talk to us a little bit about this, what better person? By the way, the guys at Midas Touch got some awards last night. Congratulations to them having the #1 podcast in America. They really are fantastic. And we always love having Ron Filipkowski on to touch base with us every week. Lucky to have him on again. Ron, I appreciate you being here, my friend. How are you?
Sure. Writing away like crazy. There was I was trying to cover this meeting over there in Saudi Arabia where Trump has fallen asleep and
I saw that video. I saw that video, Ron, about Trump falling asleep, and then he's like, giving the salute to all these people. Do you remember when everyone on the right was up in arms when Barack Obama kind of nodded his head a little bit, and now you've got him saluting all these people? What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's really bizarre when he does the salute thing. As a Marine myself, I mean, he typically, like a civilian, doesn't salute, and you definitely don't ever salute when you don't have a hat on. So right. It's just weird for me, like, when he went over and did the North Korea thing where he was saluting the North Korean generals, maybe he's inexperienced or whatever. He's not used to dealing with foreign generals. You're really not supposed to do that. But then, of course, he did it today again. He was saluting all the Saudi generals, and then he commenced to fall asleep during MBS's introduction. Then his speech, he went rambling on and put his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, was completely knocked out sleeping. But, it was interesting. He's got so many business deals going on between himself, Eric, Don Jr. They're building resorts in Oman and Saudi Arabia, all over Qatar, all over the Middle East. Those countries are, he just announced today, arms deals. We're selling them all kinds of different arms packages. So, the bizarre thing is that Trump's own personal business interests are intersecting with the United States government, where they're getting what they want from the U.S. government. And he personally and his children are getting, including Jared Kushner, are getting what they want from the governments. And we saw that play out today with Syria. Syria recently had some rebels overthrow the Assad regime. We are cautiously optimistic that the new Syrian government is going to be friendly to the United States and not hostile to its neighbors, etc. And their leader has been wanting to get a meeting with Trump. That was not on the schedule for this particular trip. But he proposed to build a Trump Tower in Damascus. So right. Next thing you know, Trump surprised everyone. He said yesterday he would be willing to build a Trump Tower in Damascus, the new president of Syria. Trump surprised everybody by announcing today from the podium that we're lifting sanctions on Syria. Well, I'm sure, maybe the two things, one had nothing to do with the other, but, it seems a little coincidental.
Very coincidental, along with the fact that you have all these people coming in from another country who all happen to be white. I wanted to ask you a little bit about that, and maybe we can get back to the jet, but you reminded me about this. What do you make of that? The fact that, apparently in this country, over 80% of people happen to be black, but all the people that he allows in here happen to all be white. Speaking of coincidence, so if you're a brown person in this country, we don't want to, I mean the Trump administration doesn't want to give you due process. But if you're white, come on in. We'll welcome you with open arms. A little coincidental, don't you think, Ron?
Yeah. The history of South Africa is very complicated and can be confusing. I've read lots of books about it, studied it. I took a class on it from the former South in college. My professor was the former South African ambassador to the United States. So, I have spent a lot of time studying the history of South Africa, and it's a complicated situation. But
right.
Yeah, needless to say, when the South African, the apartheid regime was overthrown, obviously you have this minority who's in control of most of the wealth of the country and most of the arable land for farming, most of the mineral rights, et cetera, et cetera. They were still in charge of most of the wealth, even though they lost political power. So the argument, which was primarily advanced by Elon Musk and David Sachs, Trump's crypto guru, was that white people are being, there's like a genocide. They're being murdered. They're being suppressed, oppressed, all of that. And I'm sure there's crime that's happening, but from everything I've read, this is nothing like a genocide. It's not even close to that. But Musk pushed for Trump to, while he was busy deporting everybody else, pushed for them to designate specifically white South Africans as the only group in the entire world that qualifies automatically for asylum. Not only that, U.S. taxpayers are paying for their flights to fly them to the United States. So not only are they the only people on earth allowed to claim asylum right now, is white people from South Africa, we're also paying for them to come here. And in the meantime, Trump just yesterday issued an order deporting Afghans that we brought in who worked with the U.S. government, who he brought in when the regime fell there. He's talking about sending them back, which would send them back to almost certain death or imprisonment while we're bringing in wealthy white South Africans. That's what the United States is right now.
But MAGA Republicans will say Donald Trump's not racist at all. Doesn't have a racist bone in his body. So, Ron, what does it say about where we're at right now within the Republican Party in regards to this $400 million jet that you got guys like Rand Paul, Ben Shapiro, and even somebody that you talk to on occasion, Laura Loomer, calling this out as really, at a minimum, very bad logistics and looks bad. You have those people that are saying, no, Mr. President, this is not a good idea. And yet you still have MAGA Republicans within the Trump administration that are curling themselves into a pretzel. Nothing to see here, everybody. This is just a gift.
Yeah, I saw even Ted Cruz came out and a few others and said some negative things. But look, they all know this is grossly wrong, and I think, if you just put it on the other foot and say, if one of these countries if Qatar had given a private jet, not just a private jet, but probably the most expensive, nicest private jet in the history of the world, to Barack Obama, they would have gone absolutely. They'd be holding impeachment hearings right now.
Agree. As
we speak, they would have recalled everybody back to DC to immediately launch impeachment hearings. But they can't criticize dear leader. They have to sort of temper down their criticism. But I think that Congress still has to approve this because it's being gifted. At least the way that this is set up is just so weird, where it's like being gifted to the Department of Defense. So like Hegseth would take charge of it. It would be designated temporarily as Air Force One. Then when Trump leaves office, it's decommissioned. And they're saying, to get away with this, they're saying, oh, it's not going to go to Trump personally. It's going to go to his library. He doesn't have a library. I mean, and what is it going to do? Be parked on a tarmac somewhere as if Trump's not going to use it? I mean, this is just naked, obvious, disgusting corruption. Not only that, the nickname for this plane is called the Palace in the Sky. And that's why I constantly refer to it as the Palace in the Sky, because I want the American people and the American voters to know that what the Republicans are excusing is for their president to be flying around in a Qatari palace in the sky, which has been given to him. As an aside, I'll note one of his ardent defenders on this is Markwayne Mullin, the senator from Oklahoma. Yeah. And an interesting little note on this is that I just read a story that just came out where he's like the only Republican who didn't buy the dip. He bought the opposite. He went and sold off a shit ton of his stock the day before Trump lifted the tariffs on China. So he literally lost a small fortune, and he took over his father's plumbing company. So this isn't a rich guy, but he lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in the stock market. He's the only Republican senator who's not getting stock tips, apparently.
Yeah, we know Marjorie Taylor Greene certainly did. That's for sure. I wanted to ask you a question about this Joe Biden story, because I just think it's like, look at the shiny object in the room and let's discuss it. But I want to ask you about, because I think it's so ridiculous. New book that just came out. Jake Tapper's a part of it. And apparently Joe Biden didn't recognize George Clooney at that fundraising event. And I'm thinking to myself, even if that is the case, at this point, who the hell cares? Why is this an important story to talk about now? We know that Joe Biden was getting old. He wasn't the same guy he was 5 years ago. We know that. I don't think it was some sort of huge cover-up. Clearly, the Democrats made a mistake, or Joe Biden did. He should have stepped down earlier. Okay, fair conversation to have. But why do you think this story comes out now? And do you think, I'm disappointed at Jake Tapper. Do you think all these people care about his money, Ron? What do you make of this story, if in fact it's even true?
I think it's about money, yeah, but I think it's even more about like this thing about in DC of like, I'll go against, it's like establishment figures trying to be anti-establishment for like street cred, because when they criticize a Democrat, they get praise inside their little DC Beltway journalist club.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what strikes me as ironic is that, Jake Tapper and Alex Berenson, I think from Axios, is the one who's the co-writer. They were in a position to know more about what was going on with Joe Biden the last 4 years than any of us. And so they're acting like they didn't know, like they were fooled. They're blaming it on the people around Biden, hiding this from them. And so I have two problems with it. One is, yes, why are we even doing this? Like, what is the point now? We're sick. We're battling Trump every single day. We're dealing with authoritarianist shit every single day. Something new comes out that we're battling. And now these guys want to relitigate, 2023 and 2024 and Joe Biden. And I just don't see any point in it other than them wanting to sell books. But the other disgusting thing you see is and then my other point is them acting like they didn't know. Okay, if there was something wrong with Joe, they would know before us. I could see that there was something wrong with Joe. I didn't want him to run. I felt like his faculties and his physical dexterity had diminished quite a bit in 2023. I saw it just from his public appearances. So for them to say like they didn't know, but I didn't know if that didn't mean he couldn't do the job. And my point is like, if he wanted to run as the leader of the party, you can't really force him out without having it be really messy. It had to be a decision he had to come to on his own. So I have issues with all that. But the other thing I have an issue with is you see every member of the DC Beltway media promoting this book, like hyping it, because that's what they do. They're very incestuous. They all promote each other's stuff to help each other make lots of money. And I kind of have a problem with that too, because they're not promoting it based on the merits. They're promoting it because that's what the DC Beltway Press Club does.
Ron, if you had the opportunity to interview Jake Tapper about this, I'm just curious, what would be your first question to him about this book? What would you want to ask him?
I would go at him with like his knowledge of that. That's the main thing I would go is like, you spent all 4 years and you were around Joe Biden and his people for many years before he became president, vice president, all of that. How can you now claim today that you didn't know what you're claiming now, you didn't know then? Now, I know you may have gotten a lot more details from people who spoke to you after he dropped out of the race and since leaving the White House, but you still had to know. And you didn't say a whole lot. Not only did he not say a whole lot in 2023 and 2024, he regularly defended Joe Biden's faculties and competency on air to people who criticized him for being senile. So that would be my line of attack with Tapper, aside from like, why are you doing this now? Which I know is, it's the usual thing. They have all this information and they're saving it for a book.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
I completely agree with you. Ron, congratulations to you guys at Midas Touch for the podcast and the awards you guys received last night. Rightfully deserved. We'll let you get back to work. Usually I ask you, what are you working on? You already told us what you're working on. This visit to with the Saudis and Trump continuing to salute Saudi generals. I'll let you get back to it, my friend. I can't wait to read it. Your Substack is the best in the business, and we always appreciate it when you come on, Ron. We'll catch up with you next week, my friend. Have a great rest of your week.
Okay. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Ron. There you go. Ron Filipkowski, everybody. Yes, Midas Touch. They received some big awards yesterday in New York City. We had Julie Roginski on yesterday, who was at that award show with some others like JoJo from Jers and others that were at that award show. And the guys at Midas Touch, they're just great. Going to get Adam Mockler on the show hopefully next week. And we have some other very special guests lined up for you for the remainder of the week. Oh, yes, including a January 6th insurrectionist. We have joining us and some plenty other special guests as well that I will get into. But I do want to open up the phone lines now because I think this is important. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up the phone lines right now. 702-221-7283. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. We will be getting to the YouTube Super Chat. Anybody who makes a donation of $25 or more will be automatically entered into a contest to possibly be doing a segment with yours truly on this show. Dr. Darcy Merritt won last month, and we'll see who's going to win this month. We're almost a few weeks into May. And the number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of the program is 702-221-7283. So what are we talking about today? Well, obviously, we're continuing the fallout from what appears to be this $400 million gift that has been given to Donald Trump by people who harbor and support terrorists like Hamas. We're certainly talking about that. There are some people that I played, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Mike Lawler, Ben Shapiro, even Laura Loomer, that think this is a really bad idea. They would happen to be right about that. So we're getting your thoughts certainly on that as well. And what do you make of Donald Trump lifting sanctions on Syria just after his new leader, a former al-Qaeda fighter linked to the deaths and injuries of dozens of American troops, proposed building a Trump Tower in the country? A known terrorist offers Trump a tower, and suddenly these sanctions just totally disappear, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't diplomacy. This is certainly corruption. I think it's naked corruption, and we're getting your thoughts on that. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. Before I get to the phone calls, we want to thank our sponsors over at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, home of the $20 ribeye steak. They haven't changed the price of that in over 8 years. You get a side and vegetables. It is, in my opinion, the best deal in town for the quality that you are getting. Please check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. I want to go right to the phone calls, and I want to get your thoughts on this situation and the fact that Trump has just lifted sanctions on Syria. You want to talk about corruption at its finest. Let's start off with Vivian. Vivian is first up on PTL. Hey, Vivian, what's going on? Hey, doing well. What's on your mind? Well, I certainly agree with that. Here's my biggest fear, and it's so interesting, Vivian, because I was in another one of those MAGA spaces last night, and I don't know why I torture myself, but I had a friend that was running it. So I went in this MAGA space for like 5 minutes, and literally everybody that's speaking, and there's like 8 or 9 or 10 Trumpers in there, they're all MAGA Trumpers, and I'm the only one that gives any pushback. And I ask what I think is a very by the way, there are people on social media that are saying they can't hear the callers, so we'll hopefully work on that, and I apologize for that. But Vivian, when I was in this space, I said I worry about when a terrorist organization, yes, I can consider the people who gave Donald Trump a $400 million jet terrorist, and they harbor terrorists. I consider them terrorists. And I said, I wonder what they want in return. Wouldn't you say that could be considered a bribe? And they lost their mind. They thought 6 or 7 people were yelling at me. They said I was being disrespectful, which, by the way, I wasn't. I was being very respectful and very calm for once in my life. And I said, I believe corruption.
They call him a transactional president, so you know he's getting something out of it. So for them to make up and pretend like they don't know, and that's on them. The people who do know, we know better.
Yeah, I think we do know better. But unfortunately, with some of these MAGA imbeciles, they continue to make excuses for Trump. One of the arguments I heard was, well, you're making it like he's going to have the key to the plane and he's going to park it at Mar-a-Lago. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. Do you think he's just going to give it up to a library that he doesn't even own, doesn't even have? I asked this question and they thought it was such a ridiculous thing. Well, listen, there are a lot of very prominent Republicans, some that are kind of talking heads for the Republican Party, like a Laura Loomer or a Ben Shapiro. And then you have people like Ted Cruz. Then you have people like Rand Paul, Mike Lawler, that are all saying this is at a minimum looks very bad and it's bad logistically. But somehow I'm a crazy person to question it. I mean, that's how these MAGA cultist sycophants think. And that's why I don't go into a lot of these MAGA X spaces because, first of all, they won't let you talk. Second of all, if you do say a couple words, they'll gang up on you, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. And, listen, if you're a cultist and you're a sicko fan, then you're not going to call out Donald Trump for anything. That's why I was actually surprised that Laura Loomer was. I mean, there's nobody that's more loyal to Donald Trump than a Laura Loomer. I appreciate the call, Vivian. Thank you so much. Number to call, 702-221-7283. And the number to call again if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Are you worried? My question to the callers, are you worried that a $400 million gift from a bunch of people who Donald Trump once called terrorists and murderers could hurt our national security? That's my question to you. I would say yes. What do you say? Let's go to Frank. Frank is next up on PTL. Hey, Frank, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. How are you doing?
Hey, doing good, Frank. What's on your mind?
I agree with you. I think that it could be a very problem with that because we would have to owe them a favor in return for the jet.
What do you think that? I agree with you. What do you think that favor would be? What do you think?
Any information, anything that could pertain to get back something they could use against the United States.
If you remember, Hillary Clinton had to give up a $450 gold bracelet or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And we're $450. And we're talking about Donald Trump receiving a $400 million gift. And these MAGA Republicans continue to put themselves into a MAGA buffoon pretzel to try to defend this guy. And every day it's something new that they have to try to defend.
If it was Joe Biden, oh my God.
Can you imagine? Think about that. They're still talking about Burisma, and they're still talking about Hunter Biden selling artwork, but Jared Kushner gets a $2.1 billion check from the Saudis, and Donald Trump receives a $400 million jet from people who harbor terrorists who funded Hamas.
Yeah.
And they say there's nothing to see here, everybody. It's just a gift. Everything is fine. Oh, and now all of a sudden lifting sanctions on Syria. Very interesting. It's very interesting that a former Al-Qaeda fighter, who was linked to deaths and injuries of dozens of American troops, proposed building a Trump Tower in the country. And then all of a sudden, sanctions on Syria. This is blatant corruption.
Money.
That's exactly what it is. And you remember when they talk about Barack Obama and the money that in Iran that got frozen, by the way, but they still talk about that. And Joe Biden froze that money. Oh, Barack Obama harbors and helps people who fund terrorists. But then a $400 million jet given to Donald Trump. You don't hear any of those same MAGA Republicans complaining about that. Yeah, it's such a joke.
It's not a two-way street in politics anymore.
Yeah.
It's only one-sided. The Republican Party, they get what they want, and I hope when they go down, when all this is done, I hope we get them all.
Well, I hope so as well, my friend. I hope there's going to be accountability, Frank. I do appreciate your call. Number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-221-7283. Talking about a bunch of different subjects, including this jet that apparently has been given as a gift to Donald Trump. Also talking about Donald Trump, who just made the announcement, and not a lot of people knew about this. I would imagine some people in his administration didn't know about it either. Lifting sanctions on Syria after a former Al-Qaeda fighter linked to the deaths and injuries of dozens of American troops proposed building a Trump Tower in the country. That's right. A known terrorist, ladies and gentlemen, offering Trump a tower, and suddenly the sanctions just magically disappear. This is corruption. This is naked corruption at its finest. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next up on PTL. Hello, Ray.
Hey, Brian, a little information on this airplane. My son, 22 years military. He now works for Boeing. He's been back and forth to Texas from Seattle, working on the new Air Force One for the last couple of years, trying to get the bugs out of it. Why the hell do they need another airplane? And there's one or two in Texas almost ready to go.
Yeah.
It's just information for
interesting
you and everybody else.
Well, I appreciate that. We always love information here that's factually accurate, my friend. And every single day, it's something new in the Trump administration, the lying, and, you know, whether it's a crypto scandal or people not getting due process or receiving a $400 million aircraft from a foreign adversary, or in this situation, lifting sanctions on Syria when a known terrorist offers Trump a tower. It's every day something new with the corruption and the scandals within this administration. It's sickening. It's disgusting. And I'm wondering how all you Trump sicko fans could live with yourself and wake up in the morning and look in the mirror. How can you be okay with this? How can you be okay with the direction this country is headed? How can you be okay with the fact that people in this country are not getting due process? But you know what? If you're 100% white, I guess that makes it totally okay, right? That's totally fine. You know, what if the South African
are just as bad as he is, if not worse?
What if a South African is a mixed race? Can they come too? Or do they have to be 100% white? That's the question that I would ask the Trump administration, Ray.
My wife wouldn't vote for Trump as dog catcher.
Yeah.
And neither would I.
Yeah, well, I'm with you, my friend, and I appreciate the call, Ray. Thank you so much. Number to call, 702-221-7283. Again, that number, 702-221-SAVE. Why don't we go to Charles? Charles is next up on PTL. Hello, Charles.
Hey, Brian, what's going on today? And again, lots of low-hanging fruit.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to remind everybody that Air Force One is actually a command center in case there's a disaster or some sort of nuclear fallout. So it's not just a luxury airplane. And I'd like to remind everybody also that the smallest tracking electronic device can be installed on the head of a butterfly. So if you think these guys who have been linked to Hamas, they've financed terrorists, the CIA knows all about that. The GOP knows all about it.
And here's the worst part about what, by the way, point well taken. Sean Duffy was asked about that, and his response, well, I hope the president does get a plane soon, and I'll let other people worry about that. That's basically what Sean Duffy said, the head of the FAA right now under Donald Trump. These people are so stupid. And, you know, some people think he'll never fly this plane. I don't know. But you make a very valid point there. It's not only national security for the entire country, but for anybody that goes into that plane. We don't know what's in that plane.
Yeah, and as I said, it would have to be retrofitted. It would take years. As you heard the gentleman speak earlier, my son works in avionics. He works for a defense contractor. The electronics that would be alone, besides just what flies, would probably take 3 years to install. I think it's just a shiny object right now to deflect everybody from the fact that the GOP is about to cut $800 million from Medicaid. And it's just a deflection, and that's their normal modus operatus, bro.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you bring up. And, you know, I wanted to, I'll have to get to it. Here, well, I got it right in front of me right now. So I want to read this to you, and I want to get your thoughts on this. This is what Charlie Kirk once said about some of these people that are cozying up to Trump. These are the words of Charlie Kirk. Quote, just saw a chilling documentary exposing Saudi Arabia. It's more clear than ever Saudi funded, planned, and orchestrated 9/11. They murder dissidents they disagree with. They torture women. They execute LGBT people. They fund lobby terrorism. They are not our friends. That was what Charlie Kirk said several years back. Where is Charlie Kirk now? They just gave your guy a $400 million gift. Do you think Charlie Kirk will be speaking out about this now?
No, he's going to probably show up on his next talk show with a T-shirt that says "Got Bone Saw."
I think you're probably right. You're talking about Khashoggi, the horrible situation.
Absolutely,
where this
they whitewashed that.
Yep, that
Absolutely.
journalist was murdered brutally, and we all saw it. We all saw the video of him walking in, never walking out. And you're absolutely right. But Donald Trump, you know, never faced what took place then. He made excuses for it then, and now he's accepting gifts from this evil murderous regime who harbors terrorists and funded Hamas. I thought he was pro-Israel. I thought Donald Trump was the most pro-Israel president that we've ever had, according to Benjamin Netanyahu. Why is he accepting $400 million gifts from people who couldn't be more anti-Israel? I wonder if Benjamin Netanyahu could answer that.
Yeah, they're going to have an interview because they're anti-Israel. And just, I'd like to remind everybody why Gerald got that big old check from MBH, and it's because he helped to whitewash the Khashoggi murder. Make no mistake about it.
Completely agree with you, my friend. Great call. Appreciate you. And thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Bill. Bill is next up on PTL. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Hey, good.
Yeah, I just wanted to call in and say I love what you do, man. Keep it up.
Thank you.
I especially love it when I see you on Piers Morgan and you just killed him, guys.
Did you watch the show today?
Not yet.
Oh, you're going to have to watch it. It's very, I'm going to play some audio clips tomorrow, but I did, I was told I had Trump derangement syndrome, and my response was, you guys have Trump fellatio syndrome. And I guess Piers Morgan liked it so much that he retweeted it, and he said, Brian gave the MAGA Republicans a low blow on my show. And I guess he liked it. Listen, if they're going to play that game with me, I'm ready, because I've heard all,
you know what?
The arguments don't work.
Derangement syndrome. When if Biden did the same things Trump is doing, they'd all be losing their fucking shit.
Well, you're right about that, sir. We got to watch our language on the show, but I do appreciate your call. We got to watch our language. We are on the radio, so please be careful. 702-22. Thank you for the call, though, sir. 702-221-7283. Let's go to David. David is next up on PTL. What's going on, David?
Hey, Brian, not to change the subject, but I remember a couple of weeks ago how Trump said it'd be great for Pete Rose to get in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Well, breaking news is that Pete Rose is now eligible to get into the Hall of Fame. How ironic. After Trump says something, stuff happens instantaneously.
It is insane, isn't it? That the power that has been given to the orange orangutan 34-count felon adjudicated rapist. It is interesting, the power that so many people in this country have given this man. And that's what they've done. Anybody who voted for Donald Trump, you've given him the power to abuse it. And the Supreme Court has ruled immunity for this man. He's accepting bribes, lifting sanctions on Syria today when a known terrorist offers Trump a tower. I mean, this is happening every single day. Imagine, and these are the things we know. Imagine the things that we don't know about, the things that are not reported about. Imagine the things that we don't know that are happening inside the Trump administration. We know there's a lot of things that we'll never find out about. These are just the things we know.
Right. Agree.
Yep. Well, I appreciate your call, sir. Yes, thank you for the call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Why don't we go to Kathy? Kathy is next up on PTL. What's going on, Kathy?
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Hey, good.
Well, just wanted to let you know I am very ticked off. I'm a former Social Security employee and worked with them, and I was very proud at the time that I served with Social Security. Me being a former employee or an employee at the time, we had a policy where we couldn't accept gifts that were more than $20 and no more than $50 for 1 year per year. So to see this guy getting a $400 million gift from the Saudis, it really, upsets me. But what really ticks me off is that Democrats have been utterly silent on this issue. When Hillary Clinton was brought up on charges.
My dear, your call is breaking up. Maybe you need to speak closer.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
There you
when
go.
Hillary Clinton was brought up against charges for Benghazi, the Republicans grilled her en masse about that.
8 times. Hey, my
but
dear.
did nothing.
8 investigations, not 1, not 2, not 3, led by Republicans. 8 investigations into Benghazi. They found no criminal wrongdoing. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because they want to talk about the Mueller report. By the way, there were multiple instances in the Mueller report of obstruction. Even Mueller admitted that. So when anybody tells you that the Mueller report showed no wrongdoing, that is actually not true. Now, Mueller made the decision himself that he didn't feel like there was enough to convict Trump or charge him. But there were multiple examples in there of clear obstruction. And Mueller said that under oath. So again, Anybody out there that wants to claim that there was nothing in the Mueller report, you're an idiot. And number two, 8 investigations into Benghazi. They didn't find any wrongdoing at all. Oh, yeah, by the way, Hillary Clinton testified under oath for like 14 hours. When was the last time that Donald Trump testified on anything under oath? He pleads the fifth, and it was Donald Trump who said, if you plead the fifth, you're probably guilty. And that all members of his family probably have pleaded the fifth, including his 2 sons, Uday and Kusay, also known as Don Jr. and Eric Trump. They've pleaded the fifth. Donald Trump has pleaded the fifth. If you plead the fifth, you're probably guilty. I mean, that again, you can't make this stuff up. These are the words of Donald Trump.
And during Benghazi, it was determined that it was the Republicans that cut funding for security for Benghazi. So they were responsible for this issue, for the people dying in Benghazi. But what I'm saying is that anyone out there, any people out there, call your Democratic congressman, because they need to get petty. They need to start getting investigations not only into the corruption, but also what is happening with the immigration issue, because we know and we have footage, we have video, we have seen that those so-called ICE agents that are out on the street right now, pulling up people.
You're right.
Not ICE agents.
You're right. Sorry, my dear. We got a bad phone connection there, but I do understand what you were saying, and you're absolutely right. There are ICE agents out there. I saw videos of them handcuffing what appeared to be a 10-year-old girl. Is this the country that you guys want to live in? Is this what you voted for? If you're a Klan member, this is probably what you enjoy watching. But ladies and gentlemen, let me be very clear. This is not the country that I want to live in. This is not the country that I was born in and that I recognize when literally mothers without any due process while breastfeeding their 1-year-old daughter are being deported from this country with no due process, being separated from their families. This is not the country that I want to live in. Do I wish that every person that was in this country right now was a legal citizen? Yes, I do. There is one party that wants to make it difficult for people to be legal, and they're the same idiots who want America to be white again. Make no mistake about it. Democrats want immigrants that are undocumented to have a easier pathway to citizenship. It shouldn't take 10 to 15 years, but it does. Take a wild guess which party it is that is making it more difficult and will not sit at the table to discuss this to make it easier. Republicans. They claim they want everybody in this country from all over the world, which is, by the way, a lie. They don't. But they claim they do, but they don't want to do anything to make it easier for these people to come here legally, especially those that are seeking asylum. Why is that? But why is it that if you're South African and you're 100% white, come on in. Our doors are wide open for you. But if you're a brown person, you get no due process. Ladies and gentlemen, the answer is very simple, because these are racist people. These are bad people. Donald Trump and his cronies like Tom Homan do not like you if you're brown. They don't want you in this country, and they will lie, and they will cheat, and they will deport you with no due process, in some cases putting you in the highest maximum security prison perhaps in the world. And they'll talk about reopening Alcatraz, and they'll talk about setting an example, and they'll talk about sending Americans to other countries like El Salvador. But the truth be told, ladies and gentlemen, because if you're a white supremacist and you beat a police officer on January 6th, you are labeled a hero and a patriot and a hostage. You get a pardon. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a brown person in this country who has never been convicted of a violent crime in your life, they want you out with no due process. This is the Trump administration. This is what they are doing. This is Project 2025. It was never Make America Great Again. It was Make America White Again. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Keith. Keith is next up on PTL. What's up, Keith?
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
I was just wondering, have you heard what happened to Hassan Piker?
I have not.
He got detained at O'Hare Airport in Chicago and questioned about his political leanings.
When was this?
I don't know. I just saw it earlier. It was an Adam Mockler segment.
I'll have to take a look. Adam knows his stuff, and I trust him very much so. So,
yeah, he didn't say when it happened, but apparently they detained him and they said, "Are you anti-Trump? Are you pro-Gaza?" And they were asking him all kinds of questions like that.
It's just so disgusting. It's so despicable.
Haven't you had him on your show?
Yeah, I'm going to have Adam back on, maybe even next week.
No, I mean Hassan.
I don't believe I have. I don't believe I have. Not that
Oh,
I know.
okay.
No, I don't believe I have.
That was all. That was all. And I absolutely agree with what John said earlier about it. It's not deportation anymore. It's kidnapping.
I agree. John's great. He's
And
absolutely
I agree
right.
with that.
When you don't have due process,
it's not deportation.
I agree. When you don't have due process, it's absolutely a kidnapping, my friend. Hey, I appreciate your call. I'm going to look into that story, and I'm going to have
thank
Adam.
you much.
Yep, I'm going to have Adam on the show hopefully next week. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283. I am going to take a break in like 5 minutes, and I'm going to get to the YouTube super chat because we've got some great comments on there. In fact, I think what I might do is I might do that right when we get back. Let's get back to the phone calls, though. It's 702-221-7283. Let's go to Bobby. Bobby is next up on PTL. Hey, Bobby, what's going on?
How you doing? I just want to tell you that I love your show.
Oh, thank you, Bobby.
And, you know, I sit and I listen to a lot of the Trump supporters that call into your show that's always bringing up Kamala. And I just wanted your opinion because I don't remember the Republican Party ever being like this until Trump came into office.
Well, let me start by
saying...
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Ask.
Do you think it has anything with Obama becoming president, which made a lot of people angry?
No, here's the best way I would answer that. It has a lot to do with now African Americans are about 13% of the population, but yet the Republican Party is represented less than 1% African Americans. Why is that? Well, I think you know the answer to that. It's the same thing with Kamala Harris. What are the go-tos? They say they've called her a whore. They've said she slept her way to the top. At least some Republicans have, which is obviously not true. And it's despicable and disgusting because they're a bunch of racist, misogynist pigs who talk like that. Here is a woman duly elected twice in San Francisco as Attorney General. She was elected as a senator and then picked as the vice president. Very accomplished woman, no scandals, a lovely lady. I've met her before, a good mother, a good wife, but that's their go-to. Here's what I think it is, my dear. It is the fact that she is a woman. I think partly the fact that she is a minority. And quite frankly, Republicans don't like powerful black women. They just don't. Donald Trump sees them as a threat. Oh, yeah, by the way, black women in this country, some of the most educated of any race that you can find in the United States of America. And you know what? It's why 93% of them did not vote for Donald Trump. That's the key. Republicans are afraid of intelligent, smart black women. In fact, I think a lot of Republicans are afraid of women to begin with, particularly intelligent women that are in power.
Like Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, she's done this show before. I love Jasmine. I think she's great, my dear. I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. And that's the best way I can answer that one for sure. And I appreciate you. All right, let's get back to the phone calls, if I may. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Why don't we go to Steve on line 3? I believe Steve is next. Hi, Steve. What's going on? Hey, Steve.
Hey, Brian. I just wanted to see if you heard about what happened with the Newark mayor and this ICE confrontation.
Fill me in on it. I might have, but refresh my memory.
So he went down to, I believe, an ICE detention facility in, I don't know if it was in Newark or just in New Jersey, but there was a big confrontation and ended up him getting arrested. And I don't know if he brought his constituents or I believe there was some like New Jersey House members and Senate members there, but it was in the news because
I did hear about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
So what do you think about him getting arrested like that?
Well,
and the other people that were arrested.
Well, I think
alongside
that. And what are they saying he did wrong? What laws are they saying that he broke?
I believe they were saying he was trespassing, and then I think some people there got charged with battery on an enforcement officer. Because it
obviously, I would never defend that. And the limited information that I have in the story, I will say this: MAGA Republicans always talk about the DOJ being politicized. What do you think is going on today?
I mean, I think it was like a local district attorney attorney general that pressed those charges. But I think it's, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, no one's above the law with that.
Okay,
I mean, this guy, I think he got charged with trespassing and then got released the same day.
Okay, well, it might have been a setup. I don't know if it was a setup. It certainly might have been a setup. but I do feel
why would you say it might have been a setup?
Well, I don't know. I don't know enough about the situation to be able to comment on it, but I do find it very weird and bizarre that a mayor would do that knowingly that it is trespassing and how they were there ready to arrest him. So I think I need to learn a little bit more information about this. It doesn't sound like to me that this is exactly what happened. At least this is not what I heard, but I will certainly look into it and go over it. But what do you think? What perspective are you coming from? Are you coming from a Donald Trump DOJ perspective? Are you coming from a Joe Biden DOJ perspective? I want to know where your perspective is coming from so we can continue the conversation.
I'm more neutral on it because I'm trying to make heads or tails on it, and I see that, if I were to tell you that a political leader rallied his people to a place that they weren't supposed to go, assaulted officers, and fought their way in, and those people got arrested.
Mm-hmm. Would you call them patriots and hostages?
I wouldn't call them patriots and hostages.
The only reason why I'm glad to hear that, but Donald Trump called those people patriots and hostages who beat police officers on January 6th. Surely you would agree with me that's despicable, right?
Right. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I also think that there's a limit to it because I believe 1,500 people from January 6th got charged with trespassing, and many of those people didn't assault police officers.
There were over 700 people that were violent criminals that day. Many of them pled guilty. Whether it's 700 or 1,500, that's 700 too many, right?
Right. So would you say that these people
you're not a patriot
involved in this?
Well, hold on.
Yeah,
but first of all, I don't think that happened. Were they trying to overthrow a government? Were they chanting "Hang Mike Pence" or the vice president now? You tell me, did anybody die? Were there 140 officers that were injured? It's non-comparable. The two instances are non-comparable, in my opinion. My understanding is nobody got
one more person died on January 6th than this incident.
No, that's not true. So let's go over that. No, it's not, and I'll tell you why I disagree with you. And we will go over it.
Brian's sickness, despite him dying of natural causes?
How about just let me answer it instead of you thinking what I'm going to say? Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so first of all, there was a woman that was trampled on the steps that day. Number two, yes, what's her name? Ashley, I forgot her last name. Ashley Babbitt. That's the second person. Okay, now if you want to believe that Brian Sitnick's death the next day had nothing to do with January 6th, I'm going to take the word of the person who actually conducted the autopsy. So the person who conducted the autopsy did say he died of natural causes, but also said he believed, and he's quoted as saying this, that the events that took place that day helped lead him in the state that he was in. So I'm going to go by what he says with all due respect and not what you said. There were also multiple officers, including one officer that committed suicide the next week, several officers that committed suicide, and all of their family members, some of whom have done interviews on the record, have said they were not the same person after that day. So no, sir, there was more than one person that died on that day. There were plenty of people, their lives will never be the same. There are officers that had traumatic brain injury. And I'm wondering.
One person died that day. You admitted one person died that day.
First of all, you're not even listening to me.
I am listening.
Okay.
One person that you said there were deaths that followed from suicide. And then why the guy died the next day.
So first of all, you're not listening to me. I hate to have to repeat myself again and waste airtime, but I'll make an exception
Brian, you
for you.
repeat yourself all the time.
Sir, did I just say that a woman was trampled outside and had a heart attack?
Did she die?
Yes, she did. You have no idea what you're talking about. Look it up. I'm not going to, just because you're uneducated on the issue doesn't mean I'm going to spend 30 minutes trying to explain. Don't Brian me. You're an idiot. Don't Brian me. Yes, she was. Look it up if you don't believe me. You are uneducated on this issue, and you have no freaking idea what you're talking about. And just because somebody didn't die that day, but died the next day or a week later, makes it just as bad. And you trying to undermine this and talking about how some mayor got arrested and one person might have been injured, and you're trying to compare that and downplay what took place on January 6th makes you sound like an idiot. So I just told you, you can look it up yourself if you don't believe me. And then you can call into the show and say, oops, you're right. I was wrong. I'm an idiot. And then guess what? If I'm wrong, I'll do that. Is that a deal, sir, as I bring you back up? Is that a deal? Is that fair?
Brian, you don't make deals. You still owe Sarah Fields $10,000.
Sarah Fields? What are you talking about? I don't know anybody anything. See, this is another MAGA imbecile, and he's talking about some idiot on social media who's a wannabe Laura Loomer who claims that I owe her money, which I don't. You're an idiot. Why don't you just admit it? You're a complete idiot. You have no argument. You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't fool me one bit because I knew you were a MAGA imbecile the second I heard your voice. You're a timid, middle-aged white guy who probably never gets laid, and you're the type of guy that was probably there on January 6th. So have a nice day, you MAGA inbred fool, and I wish you the best. And next time you take your little orange fingers to call into this show, make sure you have your facts right, you MAGA buffoon. Let's go to Rebecca. Rebecca is next up on PTL. What's up, Rebecca?
Hi, Brian. Yeah, the kid you were just speaking to, he obviously doesn't have his story straight. The mayor of New Jersey and a few Congress people who were arrested for trespassing and assault on these ICE agents, they were invited into the detention center, had a complete tour, saw everything that was going on, and when they were leaving, a couple of the plainclothes ICE agents were pushing and shoving, and that's how the scuffle started. Some of the Congress people, there was an old lady in there. It was all on the Midas touch. So.
Yeah, and by the way, I'll add something else to this MAGA inbred who just called into the show and obviously is not very smart and has no idea what she's talking about. By the way, idiot, not you, my dear. The name is Roseanne Boyland. She died after losing consciousness and was crushed as the pro-Trump mob surged against police. She was crushed and she was trampled, and she also became unconscious and had a heart attack. You inbred fool, you. I know what I'm talking about, and you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I do this for a living, and I'm usually right. And idiots like you that are MAGA inbred fools who follow right-wing idiots. By the way, the person that he was referencing at the end of that phone call is a convicted felon. The person, oh, Brian, you owe this person $10,000. Not only is that a lie, but the person that he was referring to is a convicted felon. These are the people that they follow on social media, my dear. What can I say?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. I appreciate that, my dear.
All right, sweetie. Take care.
Thank you. You take care as well.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's see. Who do we have next? We have James who's calling in next. Hi, James. What's going on, man?
Brian, I don't know where these people come in talking about $10,000.
I don't think they've ever had $10,000 in their bank account. That's just my personal opinion. Or if they did, they donated it to the Donald Trump campaign. They bought their gold sneakers and their Bibles. I don't know, but most of these people haven't made $10,000 in their entire life. That's my personal opinion.
I mean, from what I understand, it was her calling you out for being a scumbag, and you said, I made money on this.
No, absolutely not.
You're like,
absolutely not. You can pot him down because there are people that want to talk about things that are not true because of what people say on social media. I'm not going to entertain your stupidity because that's what you are. You're an idiot. Sir, what do you do for a living? I'm not hanging up on you. Tell us a little bit about you. What do you do for a living? It's 1:38 p.m. Pacific time in Las Vegas. You decided to call into this show and try to get me in some sort of weird gotcha, which you didn't, by the way. Tell us a little bit about you. What's your real name? Let's see if you're a coward or not. What's your real name, sir, and what do you do for work? Go ahead.
My name is James Holmes.
Your name is
James
hold
Holmes.
on.
I'm a trauma surgeon.
Hold on. What's your name? James what?
I'm not giving my full name.
Oh, you don't want to give your... Oh, yeah, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're an unemployed MAGA buffoon. So you don't want to give your full name out, but you want to go on social media and listen to right-wing turds that, by the way, that are felons that don't want me on the air. What does that make you? What type of imbecile does that... Brian, I wasn't investigated for anything. See, this is what people do. They go on social media, they lie. I hate to bring it to you, sir, and I'm sorry to... give you some information that is factual, because I would assume that somebody like you probably has a criminal record, but this is pretty much public. I've never been arrested in my life, never been charged with a crime in my life. I have gotten a few speeding tickets though. So sir, you could lie about me or believe people that lie about me. It doesn't bother me at all. I really don't care because you're an idiot. But you see, sir, if I was ever charged with a crime in my life, that would be public knowledge. You see, that's public. Like, for example, the guy who you, I would assume, support, since you follow right-wing felons on social media, you support somebody that's a 34-count felon. You see, that was proven in a court of law. Sir, what, sir? I'm still talking, but I know you're still there, and you're a MAGA buffoon, and that's okay, sir. So, sir, if you're going to make claims and you can't substantiate it, then why even call into a radio show? Sir, what crime have I ever been convicted of in my life? Can you answer that for me, or is it going to be more hearsay?
Brian, my claim was that you were
No. Answer my question. What crime have I ever committed and been convicted of in my life? Please answer.
Well, that one time you...
No. There was not one time, you idiot. The answer is never. I've never been convicted of a crime in my life. You're a moron. You waste my time on this show calling in because you don't like me, because you don't like me calling out idiots like you. Have a nice day, sir. The answer is zero. Never. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's see. Let's go to Maureen. Maureen is next up on PTL. Hi, Maureen. What's going on?
Hi, Brian. I'm from New Jersey, and about that incident in Newark with the mayor. You know who our Attorney General is now?
Who would that be?
Alina Hobbit.
Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, boy, the one who lost, who was Donald Trump's attorney. Yeah, she's quite the smart cookie, isn't she, as Donald Trump would say. This is the woman who said, I'd rather be good looking than be smart.
Exactly.
That's who,
and she's the one. She's the one that said that she wanted the mayor arrested.
Yeah.
And there was a congresswoman who was 80 years old. I doubt whether she attacked anybody.
Yeah, I'm learning a little bit more about this story, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. But it certainly sounded like a setup to me and a nothing burger. But, again, a typical MAGA supporter will downplay what took place on January 6th, but think this is World War III. This is what they do.
Right. And Tom Homan, the ICE king who wants to be Tony Soprano, he said, I will arrest everybody because people could say all they want, but we're going to arrest everybody and send them to prison.
Yeah.
It's like, who the hell does he think he is?
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic. I think I'll tell you who I think he is. He thinks he's Tony Soprano. He thinks he's a mob boss. Unfortunately, he does have immunity from the conservative Supreme Court, and he thinks he's above the law, and he's acting accordingly. I appreciate the call, my dear. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, what's up, Dave?
I lost my train of thought. I forgot what I was going to say.
I think you were going to call in and you were going to say what a handsome, good-looking man I am. I think that's what you were going to say, but I could be wrong. I'm good at reading.
I've never been a liar.
Okay, Dave. Well, what's on your mind? Come on, let's go.
So
you call. So you're a MAGA supporter. Are you another troll, or are you trying to be funny, or what is it, Dave? Which one is it? Are you another troll? Are you the same person?
Well, either way, you're
there he goes again. So, Dave, I'm willing to have a conversation with you. You're probably, I don't know if my call screener is telling me whether you're the same person who just called in 5 minutes ago. He doesn't know. So, Dave, are you the same person who just called in 5 minutes ago? Are you trying to troll? Is that what you're trying to do, Dave?
What else? Yeah, that is me.
Okay. So, Dave, no. Here's what we're going to do, Dave. You see, here's what we're going to do. You've wasted my airtime because I have a lot of other people on hold. You're using different names because you're a loser. And now I have a question for you, Dave. Otherwise, the conversation is over. What kind of person has no time on their hands to call into a show multiple times? Clearly, you're not working and you don't have a job. That you're listening to this show and you call in multiple times to try to get me in a gotcha moment, and you make yourself look like a complete utter imbecile. I'm just wondering, what type of loser are you? Besides being a MAGA supporter, which clearly you are, what kind of loser are you to call into this show multiple times to try to get me in some sort of gotcha because you read something that a felon said about me? What type of idiot are you? I'm just wondering. Can you tell me what type of moron you are? How stupid are you, Dave? What is your real name, by the way? What's your real name? You just said that you're a surgeon or something. I don't even know. You use different names calling into a radio show. Are you 8 years old? What type of, what, sir? You know what, sir? Get the hell off my show. You're a waste of my time. What type of imbecile loser has that much time on their hands? It really is pathetic. 702-221-7283. And the sad part about it is, if he wanted to talk about politics with me, if he wanted to talk about Donald Trump with me, I would have been happy to continue that conversation. But he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't have an argument, because he's not smart enough to talk to me. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Catherine. Catherine is next up on PTL. Hi, Catherine. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. Thanks for what you do. I hope
Thank
you
you.
get my card.
Thank you, Catherine.
Anyway, I just want to say it's all part of this corruption, this $400 million plane, the fact that he has coins with his head on it, the fact that he's doing all these other things.
Yep.
It's all part of it, a thing that he's doing, and nobody's stopping him. That's the problem.
Well, they can't. That's he's above the law now, according to the Supreme Court. He has full immunity. So, in a way, sadly, he is above the law. That's what makes it very dangerous.
It makes it horribly dangerous, and also that I wanted to mention what really disturbs me is what he's done in education. What they've done. I have an autistic child in my family, and it's just horrible that he's taking away health and education for these children. These tariffs are making it hard on families, and here he is taking $400 million jets that we're going to pay so much. If they let it go through, we're going to pay a fortune refurbishing it.
Mm-hmm. It is. And the problem is that the American consumer and people like you or me are the ones that are suffering because of it. And I think that's what makes it really, really dangerous and sad. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Fallon. Fallon is next up on PTL. Hey, Fallon.
Actually, it's Sharon.
Sorry about that. I was just reading Fallon on the screen. My bad.
Yeah, that's what your guy picked up.
That's okay. Go right ahead.
I've been trying to read up on the emoluments clause, and there's an excellent article on how it might apply to Qatar giving the jet to Trump by Meg Kennard.
Yeah.
I can't understand why this can't be applied, and why aren't the Democrats doing anything in Congress to try to stop this?
Well, I'll have to look a little bit more into that. Here's what I can tell you. The Republicans are in charge of the House and the Senate. That's why the midterms are so important, though. We have to start heading in the right direction. And there's only so much that Democrats can do. Obviously, we want them to fight for us. Obviously, we want them to call out Donald Trump for who he is. We want to call out the oligarchy, and we want them to call out this dictatorship. There needs to be a little bit more fight. I've seen some good things from some select Democrats, but I want to see more. That's the best way in general that I can answer that question.
It's very frustrating.
Sure.
I'll be calling our Senator Fetterman and attempting to call McCormick, but this is just totally outlandish, in my opinion.
There's a lot of things.
Thank you very much for your show.
Well, thank you, my dear.
All you do.
That means a lot. I appreciate that. There's a lot of things that are outlandish. That would be a nice way of putting it, and I appreciate your call. Let's go to Julie. Julie is next up on PTL. Hey, Julie, what's up?
Oh, boy. I did look up Adam Mockler. He has not been detained, but some people have. One dude in Virginia, and a MMA fighter has been detained.
Interesting. Well, we'll definitely look into that, and we'll definitely monitor the story. But when a MAGA buffoon calls into this show, I don't trust anything they say. And again, it just, they have no idea what they're talking about. These MAGA buffoons are all the same. They downplay January 6th when they can't, argue their point or their opinions. And when they don't know what they're talking about, they'll bring up something completely irrelevant to the topic at hand. But I'm used to this because I did it on the Pierce Morgan show yesterday. I do it on this radio show every day. So I'm used to it. So it doesn't bother me.
I'm going to have to look up your segment. And that dude that called in, the idiot, his last name is Holmes, if that's a real last name.
No, of course it's not. He uses multiple different names, and he's what you would call a MAGA coward. So I'm used to that on this show. But I appreciate the call, Julie. Who knows? Who knows? Listen, it's some MAGA turd with no job, unemployed, and his the best part of his day is trying to call into the show and trying to get me in a gotcha moment when it just backfires in his face. 702-221-7283. I'll tell you, it never backfires in Darlene's face, the MAGA destroyer. What's going on, Darlene? How you doing?
Brian, today is Stupid Tuesday because you got some maggots that they're insane. But I'm really I'm getting worried about MAGAs. MAGAs, I got a message for you. I really want to know, how are you guys going to function when he's gone? I mean, you won't even be able to go to the bathroom by yourself. I really want to know, how are you going to function?
I think a lot of the men that support Donald Trump, I think, we got a little delay on that. That's okay. I think a lot of the men that support Donald Trump already can't function, and that's why they buy the blue pills ad nauseum. So that's what I would say to that. They do that and they pleasure themselves to their Donald Trump poster. And I actually think they have a picture of the strappingly good-looking ginger man, Brian Shapiro. I think they're obsessed with him as well.
Definitely.
Darlene, it's good to hear.
I don't know. They're idiots.
Well, yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. I would go probably further than that, Darlene. But good to hear from you, Darlene. You have a good rest of your Tuesday, my dear. Okay.
Love you guys.
Love you too. So we are going to go to the YouTube super chat, which I have done a poor job of keeping up with today. That is my apologies. It's been a hectic show. We've had two great guests on, John Fugelsang, of course, comedian, actor, and great podcaster. And we had Ron Filipkowski on from Midas Touch. Reaver says, can't we just deny Trump re-entry into the U.S.? After all, according to him, the mandate is no more criminals coming in our country. Well, Reaver, that would be under the best circumstance possible. I would say deport Donald Trump and keep him in Gaza there forever. It's a pipe dream. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. The Weirdo says, so much for Elon getting out of politics. This trip, Trump gets a plane. Elon gets Starlink customers in Saudi Arabia, Cybertruck customers in Qatar. SA gets weapons, and Syria gets off sanctions. It is sick. The Weirdo, you're 100% right. It's worse than sick, actually. It's, again, corruption in plain sight at its finest. Lori says, listen, MAGA, if a terrorist hits our country, who are you going to blame? It's a national security problem. Scary. Lori, you're absolutely right about that. And I don't know if we'll ever see Donald Trump in this plane. The fact that he's running the show, it wouldn't surprise me if we did, but I guess you never know. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Thank you, Robin, for your very generous donation. Says, ICE hit my neighborhood today in Florida. Workers building houses in the villages. They rounded them up. I did not know until I saw the video. I just cried. I don't know what to do. Robin, I'm with you. It's horrible. When I see these 10-year-olds that are being handcuffed, it sickens the hell out of me. This is Trump America. I don't know what else to tell you, Robin. I wish there was something I could say to make you feel better. I do appreciate your support, as I do with Kathy. You said, would like to ask you to invite Jill Stein or Cornel West on your show. I've actually requested Jill Stein. I'm not a big fan of hers, but I have requested her. I did not hear back. She says they had loads to say about VP Harris during the election, but are silent on what's happening under Felon 47. You know, you make a really good point there, Kathy. Whatever happened to Cornel West? He was so vocal earlier. Where is he now? Jill Stein is despicable. I have some respect for Cornel West. I don't think he's a dumb guy. Jill Stein is the worst. But Kathy, I will reach out to them again. But we do have some really great guests on this show, and I always appreciate it when they take the time to join us. Check out my website, by the way. My website is pushingthelimits.live, where you can make donations. We have Justin Wolfers, who is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. Now, if you don't know who Justin Wolfers is, he makes the rounds on all these. He's a professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan. He's on every network from Fox News to CNN to MSNBC. So if you really want to know what these tariffs are doing to this country, we're going to find out with Justin, who's actually a real professional, who's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. We have a January 6th insurrectionist who is unapologetic that is going to be joining us on the show on Thursday. You're certainly going to miss that. And also some special guests that are going to be joining us on the show Friday. Leonard Cardinale is going to be co-hosting with me tomorrow on the show as well. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that as well. So tomorrow, we're also going to be playing some of the highlights, for lack of a better term. My appearance on the Piers Morgan show yesterday, where I had the opportunity to debate Jack Posobiec, who I believe is a white supremacist sympathizer. And I also had the opportunity to debate a guy by the name of Brandon Tatum, who in my opinion is the male version, at least in my personal opinion, of Candace Owens. They said I had Trump derangement syndrome, which they made the very big mistake of saying because I threw it right back in their face. We'll talk a little bit about that. We talked about the use of the N-word, including that despicable mother Shiloh, who called the 5-year-old child the N-word. And yes, believe it or not, there were some people on the panel that were defending her. It made me absolutely sick, so I wasn't having that. So we will certainly play audio from the Piers Morgan show tomorrow on that. My thanks to John Fugelsang, by the way, who's fantastic comedian, actor, great podcast on SiriusXM. Check it out. I appreciate him joining us. So we're at 106,000, give or take. We're about 106,000 subscribers on YouTube as I look right now. 106,100 to be exact, by the way. And it's ever growing. We literally just passed 100,000 subscribers. So 6,000 subscribers like that. I appreciate you guys for enjoying the content. 3.1 million views in just the last 28 days, 256 hours of watch time. I'm so proud of that. And I appreciate all you guys for being loyal listeners. PTL family, without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. So I want you guys to know how grateful I am every day. So if you want to learn more about the show and you want to get involved and you want to know how to donate besides the YouTube super chat, which we appreciate all of you for helping, check out my website. It's pushingthelimits.live. And we're working on getting that newsletter up and running. But if you go to pushingthelimits.live, you'll see all my socials and how to contact me personally. You could also buy merchandise. We sell shirts, hats, beanies, you name it. We sell it on there. And also donations, whatever it is, $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you can afford. We greatly appreciate it. And we love giving you this content every single day. So please check out the website, which is pushingthelimits.live. And we appreciate you guys very much. We will see you tomorrow with a professor of economics at Michigan. He's going to be joining us to start the show tomorrow. So trust me, you're not going to want to miss that. And we'll break down my appearance on the Piers Morgan show. Take care, everybody. I love you guys. John Stanhouse on YouTube says you should get an award. My award is to be able to do this show every day. But I was inducted into the Nevada Broadcasters Hall of Fame. So at least I got one award out of it. Anyway, and I will be getting the 100,000 mark YouTube award as well. So, hey, hard work pays off. So don't worry about me getting awards. Just keep doing what you're doing and watch this show and support what I do. I'll always be here. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road.